segment 2, then, you've set it up nicely, the state. You present grand strategies, Charlie, as an act of restoration. This book is an effort to reestablish an understanding and appreciation of the international system by first, if I'm reading it correctly, reestablishing a way of thought, almost a mode of consciousness. Quote, statecraft cannot be practiced in the absence of literary insight. How come?
This is also goes to the question of education, because literature has been sidelined. Again, I believe, in large part because of the changes, the many cultural revolutions of the 1960s that began to say you want to have a literature curriculum that represents the ethnicity of the author,
Right.
not the value of the work.
Right.
And so the so-called canon was ripped up.
All those dead white males.
All those dead white males. Literature is essential to the idea of statecraft and grand strategy because literature is pre-disciplinary. If you look at the Iliad or the Odyssey, you can tell that in there is philosophy and history and politics and social science even, and military history. It's taking place before those different parts of the intellect were portioned out and little fences put around them. So you say, well, I don't do that because I'm a political scientist. I'm not a historian.
Homer did not sit down and say, do I write the grant proposal to the National Endowment for the Arts or the National Endowment for the Humanities? Mm-hmm. All right, Charlie, I'm now going to give you a chance to prove the relevance of literature. Aeschylus, Orestia, 5th century BC. You claim in Grand Strategies that this is, quote, the central character in a transition from the primeval cycle of revenge to a civil society based on judicial order, close quote. Talk to me about that.
That's something that you can see not only in Aeschylus and the Oresteia, though that's the first case brilliantly put forward in a trilogy that we have, but it's something that is still going on even today. Different societies do this at different points. It is in American folklore, the Hatfields and the McCoys. It is, do you have a society where revenge is the way you maintain order? Somebody in your family wrongs somebody in my family, and I'm going to get you back because I'm going to have somebody in my family wrong somebody in your family, and back and forth. Right. And in the Oresteia, you see that this is now cascading down generation to generation. And that's the way that society ran itself. The blood feud was the way you kept order and, in some rough sense, justice. In the Oresteia, that crosses over into a civil society when suddenly the parties involved say, we got to stop this. And Athena, a literary character, mythological character, steps into it, and she begins to run a process that enables the parties to say, we will let a system of justice arise that will satisfy us in a way that the revenge blood feud used to do, but it will be much more orderly. It will not force us to retaliate and take revenge. The larger society will have laws, and justice will be applied in that way.
So there's this struggle between civil society, the legitimate law enforcement, and the old clan system of honor and family is still going on. Here's what you write about it in Grand Strategies. The eons-long struggle between the clan and the civil society of statehood is fully alive in Afghanistan and other parts of the Middle East. Is President Obama aware of that?
No, I don't think that he is. I think that it's not understood by Washington, and it's not just this administration, but before, that we are here dealing with a very large system, that it has been built up over centuries. Why are we there? And here's a grand strategic point to it. These are all connected. what you do in Afghanistan or what you do in Iraq is connected to each other. I think that General Petraeus, saw him a month or so ago, fully understands this.
He does, thank goodness.
But I think that Washington does not, because you hear them saying, well, we have to get out of this area and focus on this one. We wrap it up over here and move from A to B, but there's no
Iraq was a mistake,
sense.
but Afghanistan is the correct
That's right.
war.
Yeah.
Right.
But no sense of the reality, which is that every part will reverberate, will have something to do with the other part. Business people know this. CEOs know this either instinctively or they know it when they do their business, because they know that the supply chain, that the quality control, that the manufacturing in some foreign place probably, that the personnel system, that the larger economy, the world economy, these are all tied together. Mm-hmm. But in the actual practice of statecraft, that's been lost.